In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to drain and refill the automatic transmission fluid in a 2017 4Runner Limited, although it may apply more broadly to 5th generation 4Runners in total. I compiled this video based on a number of sources, including YouTube, the internet, and the owner's manual for the vehicle. For the supplies, you'll need a genuine Toyota oil strainer assembly, and that's manufactured in Japan. That's reassuring. An O-ring for that oil strainer assembly, also genuine Toyota. M12 crush washers. These will be the same size for the drain plug and the fill plug. And a gasket. I bought this off of Amazon. It was from Lexus, and it did pique my curiosity because there's some Chinese words at the bottom left corner there, and I had to double check this against other sources. I looked it up on Toyota Parts Center online, and the part number checks out. You also need about 5 to 6 quarts of genuine Toyota automatic transmission fluid, WS. I bought this off of Amazon as a 6-pack. Another item you'll need is a mechanism for filling the ATF fluid. The hole is situated in a very awkward space, so you'll see that later in the video. One way of doing this is to use a fluid pump. You attach this to a bottle, and then you just simply pump up the solution into the hole. I have a couple of these, but I used them previously for my differential and transfer case fluids, and I'm not going to use it this time around because I'm not sure if I cleaned those fluids out properly or completely, so I don't want to get them mixed up with the ATF. And instead, I'm going to use this vinyl tubing. It's 1/2 inch diameter, which I'll attach to the funnel here, and I'll use gravity to push the solution down into the hole. The hardware you'll need are 10, 12, 14, and 24 millimeter sockets. You'll also need a 5 millimeter hex. This is a 3/8 inch socket version. You'll need socket wrenches to go with them. That includes a 3/8 inch and a 1/2 inch for my purposes. Also, 2 types of torque wrenches. This is inch pounds, and that one is foot pounds. You'll also need a level to level the car prior to draining, and this will be also handy for making sure that the fluid fills properly. Because the ATF fluid will be filled while the car is cold, the transmission may not reach the proper level. So Toyota requires that the vehicle's temperature reach anywhere from 104 degrees Fahrenheit to 113 degrees Fahrenheit to drain excess fluid, and that way the proper level will be met. You certainly can use a thermal gun. However, this device can be quite inaccurate because it only gathers external temperature readings. Instead, I'm going to be using this Bluetooth enabled OBD2 device from Veepeak. And with this, it connects to an app that allows me to access more advanced features that includes getting thermal readings internally. The app I use is called OBD Fusion. You simply go to the settings, purchase extras for your vehicle, make sure it's the correct one, then press the buy button. It's a one-time purchase. The transmission oil pan is located underneath the front passenger side. First, I'm going to make sure the car is leveled, and it does appear to be in the bubble or somewhat close. I'll accept that. That's the 5 millimeter check plug. That's a 14 millimeter drain plug. And right above the check plug is the 24 millimeter fill plug. The game plan is to loosen the 3 plugs in the following order: fill plug first, check plug second, then drain plug last. The reason why you want to do this is because just in case the fill plug or the check plug are hard to loosen, then you won't be in a disaster without any oil. Loosen the fill plug with a 24mm socket. Use the 5mm hex socket to loosen the check plug, then retighten it. Place a drain pan underneath the drain plug, loosen that plug, and remove it completely, and allow the fluid to drain. Make certain to clean the drain plug well, add a new crush washer, and then replace it back in the hole. And torque it to 15 foot-pounds. Next, remove 20 of these 10mm bolts holding up the oil pan. I pre-loosened them all first with a regular socket wrench, then took care of business with a drill gun. There's still going to be a fair amount of fluid at the bottom of the pan, so just be careful when lowering it. Use a 10mm socket to remove the 4 bolts holding up the oil strainer assembly. You may need to apply a bit of force to wiggle out the oil strainer assembly, but try not to do this. Including the fluid that drained out of the drain hole at the very beginning, the amount of fluid that was in the oil pan, and also the fluid that remained in the oil strainer, I estimated that there was about 1.25 gallons, or the equivalent of 5 quarts, that was drained. Before cleaning out the oil pan, I'm going to inspect the old oil that remains, and as I found out, the metal shavings were very fine. It's very typical to see fine particles, but if the particles were larger or you have shards, then that's going to be very problematic and you should have your transmission checked. There are 4 magnets at each of these slots at the bottom, and they help attract any floating particles and help confine those particles at the bottom. As I'm inspecting each of these magnets, I'm finding the sludge contains fine shavings and not large shards at all. Inspection of the oil strainer assembly also yielded negative results, so I'm good to go. Clean the inside of the pan thoroughly with a lint-free towel. You do not want to leave any debris or lint behind. This is the pipe for the check plug. Because I collected about 5 quarts of old fluid, my game plan is to add 6 quarts of new fluid. It's better to add more than less, because that check plug will allow me to drain excess fluid at the proper level once the transmission temperature reaches the proper range of 104 to 113 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to check for proper fitment of the gasket. It's dummy proof because there's only one way to put it on. I'm also going to make sure that the new oil strainer assembly is correct by comparing it against the old one. And we'll also check the new O-ring as well, just to make sure it's correct by comparing against the old one. I'm applying new transmission fluid to the O-ring, which will prevent it from getting damaged while the strainer gets reinserted. When reinstalling the oil strainer assembly, the O-ring may cause a little bit of difficulty. You just have to wiggle that strainer back and forth a bit. Torque the 10mm strainer bolts to 84 inch-pounds. I found it very challenging to reinstall the oil pan with the gasket sitting on top. So my plan involved securing the gasket to the oil pan temporarily with wire ties, and that allowed me to lift the pan up without the oil gasket shifting off, and was finally able to get to business with securing those 10mm bolts. If you use wire ties, then don't forget to snip them out carefully before tightening the bolts. My game plan here involved doing a crisscross pattern on all these bolts, then torquing them down to 62 inch-pounds. Now we're ready to refill. Remove the 24mm fill plug. The O-ring on it still looks good, so I'm just going to reuse it. Here's my gravity rig. I taped the opening of the tube so that way no debris can get inside as I'm snaking it down towards the fill hole. There are two metal pipes. I'm going to feed the tube on the right side of those pipes. The outside diameter of the tube is 5/8 of an inch, and that creates a snug fit inside the hole. As I mentioned before in the game plan, I'm adding 6 quarts of fluid so that way it can overfill the pan. When done, torque the fill plug to 27 foot-pounds. Start the car to allow the transmission to warm up. While waiting for the transmission to reach proper temperature range, go ahead and move the shifter from park to rear to neutral, then drive. Then back up again from drive to neutral to rear and then park. Carry out the sequence 2 to 3 times to allow the fluid to move its way through the transmission. In the OBD Fusion app, the transmission has 2 temperature sensors. The second one is nearest the torque converter, which creates more heat. So I'm going to stick with the first temperature reading, which tells me already that I've got to go ahead and drain some excess fluid. With the car still running, remove the 5mm hex check plug and allow the fluid to drain. Let it drain until it gets to a trickle. While waiting for it to get to this stage, clean off the plug and replace it with a new crush washer. There's the trickle, indicating that the fluid has reached the proper level. Torque this plug to 15 foot-pounds. This completes the job. Make sure to drive the car around the block a few times and then recheck for leaks afterwards.